Hello friends, I'm Dolores Cannon. For over 40 years working with past life regression hypnosis, I've heard stories that sometimes even stop me in my tracks, make me take a deep breath, and then dare to believe they come from the very depths of the human soul. Today, I invite you to join me on a special journey, not through the starry sky, but to the deepest valley, the thickest ice sheet on Earth, where a soldier remembered his past life and saw an underground city in Antarctica. I'm not saying this is true, I'm simply recounting what my patient, a retired soldier named Thomas, saw when he closed his eyes and lay back in my office chair in Arkansas and let his mind drift to a place he'd never set foot in this lifetime. Past life regression hypnosis, for those hearing about it for the first time, is simply the way I help you reconnect deeply, so deeply, with forgotten memories. Perhaps from this life, or another, or from distant places the soul has traveled. They begin to appear like a beautiful film projected in slow motion, without forcing, without effort, just let it come. That day, Tomas came to me because of recurring nightmares. He dreamed he was standing on the ice, the wind whistling in his ears like metal cutting bone, and beneath his feet, there was a city shimmering intensely, not with sunlight, but with a cold, bluish light as if emanating from the ice itself. I don't understand it. I've never been to Antarctica, but it's amazing. I'm sorry. So we begin. I ask him to focus on his eyes. Inhale very slowly and exhale. Imagine you are climbing an old wooden staircase. Each step takes you deeper into relaxation. 1, 2, 10. And now you are in a very peaceful place, with no noise. Only the steady beating of your heart. Tomas leans forward, shoulders relaxed, hands hanging loose. I ask gently, "Tell me, what are you seeing?" At first, only darkness, then a band of blinding white light like snow falling upside down from below. I whisper, "Very thick ice." I stand on an ice plateau. The wind is biting, but I don't feel cold. I wear a thick, silver-gray whip with an inverted triangle emblem on my chest. I am a soldier, but not from any country I know. I didn't interrupt him. I only asked, "Where are you, Tomas?" He paused for a long time. Then his voice lowered, as if talking to himself. "Antarctica, but not the Antarctica of Jura. This was long ago, before humans gave it a name, and then the corner changed." Tomas recounted that he was facing a large crack in the surface of the ice, not natural, but a perfectly straight cut as if carved by a beam of light. From that crack sprang soft, but cold, bluish light. I hear a very deep rumble from the surface, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. There is a metal ladder, but it's not cold. It's warm, as if it has life. I fence off. No one orders me, I only know that I must fence off. Each step took him deeper into the heart of the ice. The air gradually warmed. The ice itself began to glow from within as if millions of turquoise gems were embedded in it. And then, before him, appeared a door, not of metal, but a veil of light vibrating gently like the surface of water. Thomas stopped. I heard his breathing slow. "I'm not afraid," I said, "but I know once I cross over, I won't be myself." I asked gently. He was silent for a moment. Then he nodded, though I only saw him through his fluttering eyelids. And he crossed, when Thomas stepped through the veil of light and his body shuddered slightly, not from fear, but like when you go from a cold room to a warm one and everything in you relaxes, loosens up. I remained seated beside him, my hand lightly on the arm of the chair, whispering, "Where are you, Thomas? Tell me little by little, as if you were painting that picture again." He spoke in a monotone voice, as if reading from a wordless book. "I'm in a very wide corridor, without ceilings, just bluish light radiating from all sides as if the air itself were heaving. The floor is neither metal nor stone, it's soft yet firm like the skin of a giant. I walk barefoot. I don't remember taking off my shoes, and each step feels warm, like walking on sand that still holds the heat of the sun." I asked, "Do you hear anything?" He tilted his head as if listening. "Yes, a very deep drone. Not mechanical. It's like very slow, very deep breathing, as if the whole city were breathing in unison." Thomas touched the door, and the corridor had no corners. Everything was rounded, undulating like the side of a gigantic block of ice, then heated, without shadows, without reflections, just soft bluish light, enough to see everything clearly, but without dazzling. I walk and walk without tiring. Time seemed to stop. Then I went to a huge room. No, not exactly a room. It was like a gigantic cavern, but so tall he couldn't see the end. In the center, a lake. No, it wasn't water, it was a luminous, pale green liquid, almost diffused. Around the lake, tall, slender columns, also luminous, but pale yellow. On each column, an engraving, not letters, but spirals like the fingerprints of a gigantic being. And then he saw them. "They are very tall," Thomas said, his voice trembling slightly, but not from fear. "Tall by 2 heads. Their skin isn't skin, it's scales, but soft, fuzzy scales like snakeskin, but shiny and silvery gray. They walk upright on 2 legs, but with long tails that touch the ground, helping them balance. Their heads are elongated and narrow, with large black eyes like the abyss, without pupils. But when they look at me, I feel, because they know who I am, ask, dedicate something." Thomas shook his head slowly, not with words. "They send thoughts directly into my head, clear, cold, but without malice. They speak the truth, you have returned." I let him continue without interrupting. Loons circled the luminous lake. With each step, he saw more creatures, some smaller, some larger, but all silent, moving smoothly, as if floating on water. They didn't walk, they slid their tails, barely skimming the ground as if to orient themselves. Thomas was lifted to a wall. No, not exactly a wall. It was a gigantic screen of luminous liquid floating in the air. On it appeared the image of Earth, but not the Earth we know now. It was a green land with vast oceans and a warm, humid climate, with no ice in Antarctica, only jungles, swamps, and still active volcanoes. A tall creature, apparently the leader, stood beside him. Its thoughts came through clear as a voice. "This is home before you won." Thomas counted and saw the next image. Gigantic cylindrical ships kilometers long landing on Earth long before humans appeared. Deep underground, they built cities beneath the ice, beneath the rock, beneath the oceans. Antarctica was one of their largest bases. They ruled for millions of years, waiting for the Earth to return to a warm cycle, a cycle where their bodies could live without the protection of the sky. "They aren't angry with us," Thomas said. "They're just waiting. They change the climate gradually, melt the ice, warm the oceans, not to kill us, just to reclaim their former environment. They call it the return." He asked gently what they planned with humans. He remained silent for a long time. Then he whispered, "They don't want war. But if we oppose them, they will accelerate the process. Floods, volcanoes, earthquakes, all controllable from here, from the luminous columns, the hand to the planet's lungs." With a touch, the leader extended a 3-fingered, webbed hand and lightly touched his forehead. A flow of pale yellow light entered. Thomas saw millions of human souls being taken to the ships, not as abductions, but for protection. Those who survived would have to adapt to the new, warmer, wetter land, like in prehistoric times. Those who didn't adapt left. "They're not evil," Thomas repeated. "They're just different, thinking like cold, efficient reptiles, without emotions like ours." Thomas stood between the green-lit lake and the pale yellow columns, his hand still feeling the warmth of the leader's 3-finger touch. I saw his fingers tremble slightly, not from cold, but from a memory emerging like a spring breaking through the ice. "Hurry," Thomas whispered, like a soft breeze across the lake's surface. "What are you remembering?" I inhaled deeply. In the hypnosis room, I clearly heard the air filling his lungs, and then his voice lowered, as if talking to himself. He wasn't an ordinary soldier. He was the gatekeeper. The images cleared in his mind, and he recounted them fragment by fragment, like Armando, piecing together a broken mosaic from thousands of years ago. In that life, he wasn't called Thomas. He was Cell, a chosen soldier of an ancient tribe that lived deep in Patagonia. The tribe knew neither writing nor metal, but they knew how to listen to the earth. They listened to the rumble from the depths and called it the voice of the Serpent Mother. One day, the sky opened. Not with thunder, but with a band of white light that stretched from one horizon to the other. From that band descended cylindrical ships without a sound, only with heat that melted the eternal ice. Cell's people didn't flee. They knelt, and the reptilian creatures emerged, tall and slender, with silver scales and eyes as black as abysses. They spoke to us with their mouths, sending thoughts. "We need gatekeepers. Those who understand the earth, those who do not fear the cold." Kai was chosen because he was the only one in the tribe who could look directly into their eyes without covering his head. They led him through the crevice, up the warm metal ladder through the veil of light, and assigned him the task of guarding Gate 7. "What is Gate 7?" I asked gently. He closed his eyes more tightly. "It's one of the 12 great gates beneath Antarctica. Each gate leads to a different part of the underground city. Gate 7 is where the breath of the mother serpent resides. A gigantic cylindrical machine as tall as a 10-story building, made of an unnamed material. It expels heat, melting the ice slowly, millimeter by millimeter per century. My task was to inspect, record, report, not intervene." He recounted that every day, if he was on land, he patrolled around the machine. It had no buttons or clocks, only a large, deep red crystal floating in its core. The crystal vibrated, it didn't pulse. Each vibration released a flow of heat through the ice, melting a small part of Antarctica. "They're in no hurry," I say, Thomas. "They count in millions of years. A century to them is like a breath, but they know that humans are warming the Earth faster than planned. Emissions, wildfires, warming oceans. They're satisfied, they say, they're helping us." I ask if they said anything about the future. Thomas listens silently for a long time. Then he tells about a meeting, not a discussion, but a circle of light. 2 leaders, each representing a gate around the liquid lake. They sent a collective thought, images of the Earth in 300 years. Ice completely melted, oceans rising, rainforests covering Antarctica, humans living in floating cities or migrating to spaceships. And the reptilians emerging from the darkness, scales gleaming in the new sun. "They don't want to exterminate us," Thomas repeated, his voice now calmer. "They just want to go home. But their home is prehistoric Earth. Our home is changing. They say, those who love the sunlight will live. Those who love the ice will depart." And then the leader touched his forehead again. This time, "Don't imagine." A brief, cold message, but without malice. "When the ice melts completely, the gates will open. Choose, take care and adapt, or come with us to a new world. There are no enemies, only life." Thomas recounted that afterward, they took him back to the surface. The crevice closed. His tribe had vanished, perhaps swept away by floods, perhaps by time. He died in his sleep beneath the thick ice, the red crystal vibrating in his mind. When he awoke in my hypnosis room, his eyes were moist. Not from sadness, but because he had just remembered the dream of the city of Bo. The ice was not a nightmare, it was a memory. Thomas opened his eyes in my hypnosis room, the soft golden light illuminating his face. A face that had laughed with his grandchildren. He had driven trucks on sun-drenched highways, but now his eyes had a distant look, as if he had just returned from a timeless place. "Don't speak immediately." I just placed my hand on his shoulder, light as a falling jewel, and whispered back, "Tomas, breathe slowly, and when you're ready, keep counting." He sat up, lightly rubbing his temples. "I see it," I said, "not in a dream, but in reality. The callus." I asked what signals, my friend. Tomas said that after the first hypnosis session he couldn't sleep. Not out of fear, but because every time he closed his eyes he heard the purring, the breathing of the machine under the ice. It wasn't loud, just a steady, deep rhythm like the heartbeat of Alwian in his deep sleep. He began. "Note such small news about the Antarctic melting faster than expected. Giant cracks in the ice shelf. Scientists talking about unusual hot underground rivers, kilometers beneath the ice. It's not by chance, I say, it's the breath. The machine is awakening." Then one night I sounded. No, not exactly sounded. I saw again on the ice plateau wearing the silver-gray suit with the inverted triangle emblem, but this time I didn't go still, and from the crevice a beam of intense rust light shot into the sky. Not a link, but a column of light as soft as the breath of the crystal rolled into the core. The column drew a spiral in the sky, not random, but a symbol. Upon waking, I drew the symbol on a piece of paper. It looked like 3 interlocking circles with a spiral in the center. I didn't know what it meant, but I felt I should share it. I asked, "And did you see something else?" Thomas nodded slowly. "Yes, a voice, not words, a thought." The leader said, "The time of ice is over. The time of water has arrived. Tell the others, don't resist the current. Learn to swim. I let him continue without interrupting. He said that in the following weeks he began to receive small messages like pieces of a letter from the past. One morning he turned on the television and saw a news report about a research station in Antarctica that had discovered unexplained, cylindrical artificial structures kilometers long beneath the ice. Scientists called it a strange geological phenomenon. He took it seriously, not out of joy, but because he knew. Then he read a letter without an envelope, without an address, just a piece of paper folded in quarters in the mailbox across from his house. On the paper was the spiral identical to the one he had drawn. Below it, a line handwritten in English, but in shaky handwriting, as if from an unused hand. Door number 7 years, 7 months, days. Prepare yourselves. Tomas wasn't afraid, he only felt a sense of responsibility. He asked, "Who do you think this message is for?" He looked me directly in the eyes for the first time in the session. His gaze was clear, not distant. For all of us, not to panic, not to flee, but to awaken. They are not coming to destroy, they are coming to live, and they are giving us a choice. Adapt to the new land or leave in peace. He recounted how the leader in his past life showed him 2 paths. The first, humans continue as always, exploiting, polluting, the ice melts faster. The water rises, the sinkholes deepen, the reptilians emerge without needing to fight, they just wait. The second, humans change, reduce emissions, plant forests, live more harmoniously with the earth, the ice melts more slowly. The reptilians return, but without accelerating their progress, and we coexist as 2 species on the same planet, but from different eras. They are not enemies, Thomas said once again in a warm, husky voice. They are just ancient brothers who slept under the ice, now awakening and watching over us so we know we are not alone. But we must choose. When the hypnosis session ended, Thomas hugged me. A tight hug, like a grandmother's. "Thank you, ma'am. I no longer have nightmares, only hope." Thomas left my hypnosis room on a sunny afternoon, golden and shimmering. He went out the door, turned around, and smiled. Alan's smile, having just found the key to a door that had been locked for a long time. I stood on the porch watching him disappear behind the oak trees, and I knew. This story doesn't end. It's only just beginning to expand like ripples on a lake when you throw in a small stone. In the following years, Tomas sent me a few letters. Not long ones, just a few lines handwritten on lined paper. I planted a small tree in the garden behind his house with heat-resistant plants. The trees would survive in warmer soil. He taught his grandchildren to listen to the earth, to feel when a plant needed water, when the wind changed. He told us about reptilians and door numbers. They weren't seen by anyone other than his family. I was just saying, we must live more gently. Mother Earth is breathing again, and I, Dolores Cannon, continue doing my work, sitting beside old cylinders, listening to stories from the depths of the human soul. I have heard hundreds of thousands of similar cases. Soldiers, mothers, children, all remembering cities, the ice, the rock, the oceans. They don't tell the same details, but the message is always the same. We are not alone. We are being watched, and we have a choice. I'm not telling you to believe. I'm not telling you to fear. I'm just telling a crazy story, and I heard from Thomas DeKale about the red crystal vibrating beneath the thick ice. I am just the chronicler, like an old woman by the fireplace telling her grandchildren about the old days when Earth was a planet and the ancient brothers still slept. Today, as you listen to this story, I want you to stop for a moment. Breathe slowly. Put your hand on your chest. Feel your own heartbeat. Imagine your feet kilometers deep. There is a city breathing. Without malice, without hatred. Only life. A different way of life waiting for the day to return home. You don't need to do anything grand. Just live more gently. Turn off the struggles when you don't need them. Plant a tree. Walk instead of driving short distances. Listen to the earth. When you walk on grass, soil, or rock, stop for a second and feel. The earth speaks not with words, but with its breath. Choose love, not grand love, but small love. Smile at a stranger. Hug your child a little tighter. Forgive someone you've kept from, reintegrate. Because when the ice melts, when the water rises, when the earth changes, the only thing that will matter is the love you have sown. The reptilians fenced off the ice. They don't understand love as we do. They understand life, they understand efficiency, but they also understand that a planet can only live when all species on it choose to live together. Thomas chose. He chose to plant trees. He chose his grandchildren. He chose to live as if each day were to prepare for the new earth, not with fear, but with hope. And you who will bring me joy, I who have sorrows, for I have no answers for everything, only the story, and I believe that in every story there is a seed of light. That seed will germinate when you are ready. So when you turn off this video, when you leave the room, when you look at the starry night sky, remember, you are never alone. Beneath your feet, above your head, all around you, the universe whispers, not to frighten, but to remind you. We are all children of the same Mother. Mother Earth, Mother Universe, Mother Light. Carry love, carry light, and live gently, fully in every breath. Thank you for joining me today, thank you for listening, and goodbye until we meet again in another story, in another life, on some distant star.